I have written things that like use oftentimes literary subjects as the subject of my writing. So, for instance, I have a novel called Malcolm and Jack, which is about Malcolm X and Jack Kerouac meeting in New York City in the 1940s. And I also have a novella which reimagines Herman Melville's story, Bartleby the Scrivener, in a baseball context. I'm a big baseball guy, and I actually play 19th century style baseball as a hobby. But it's called Bartleby the Sportscaster. And I teach literature and creative writing. That's who I am. The publication process, as I have experienced it, was more difficult than I imagined it to be at first. And I managed to get publications a lot of the time by getting to know people who were also writers, and not with any design in mind, but I just was hanging around with these people. They were interesting to me. And as time went on, they started to have more access to, or provide me more access to publications, and I could get published that way. And there's a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, you don't get published by your friends." You know, and I've seen other people accused of that too. You know, but really, it's because you end up with a lot of people who have similar interests, and you get to know people who are doing this too, and it just kind of flows naturally from that. I had a couple of early publications that were people who I didn't know, and combining that with some by people I did know, I ended up having enough publications to apply for a National Endowment for the Arts grant. And after about 6 or 7 years of applying for that each year, I got one. And after I got that, I can say that in my letters, cover letters, and that helped me get published more too. So the NEA grant is a great thing for young writers to work toward, because it's you have to have 5, at least in fiction, you have to have 5 publications, but they can be little ragtag magazines, as long as it's not one that is a university program magazine. You know, in other words, something that basically just prints students who are going to a university. As long as it has a national scope, which means anyone can get it, you know, as long as it is open to people all over the place. If you get 5 of those publications, you can have that requirement for applying for the NEA. And the NEA, National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, is $25,000, and that is very nice to get because it gives you some free time to work on your writing. And it's also blind judged, which is really terrific for a young writer, because most editors are going to look more closely at names that they know. You know, they want to, every magazine wants to have the best writing in it. And because there's really no objective measures for that, people weigh the name recognition quite heavily. So if you can get in a blind judged contest like that, it's good. And there's other blind judge contests too. And I'm not against doing contests, but the NEA is a much more lucrative one. And I don't think it's necessarily any harder to get an NEA than it is to get published in any magazine. There's so many people out there trying to get published. Getting rejections over and over again, and often just form rejections, and try to keep your enthusiasm about it, and I remember having a roommate when I first started at University of Colorado in the creative writing program, and we papered a wall with our rejection slips. Just taped them up on the wall, and we had most of the whole wall covered with them. So, and so that basically was a way to kind of just make fun of it, and not get too down about it. Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. One is Poets and Writers magazine, and they have a database where I don't even think you have to be a member to use it, but you can look up writers. First of all, you have to read a lot. You have to see what's out there. But if you find a writer whose work you like, you can see where they've been published, and chances are, if you like their writing, you might be doing something of the same thing, but really, I think, while we all want to get published, just focusing on getting to be the best writer you can be is the most important thing. I'm a fiction writer. Fiction writing is generally kind of harder to get publications in than poetry, because if you look at Literary Magazine, they might have like 4 or 5 stories and 25 poems, 25 poets, So not to make any enemies from poets, but it's just tough to get fiction published. But it's not impossible. It just takes work and time and waiting, and when you do meet someone, for instance, at a conference, and they say, "Hey, I'd love to see your work," you got to be ready with something that's really good, because if you aren't, then you've met the right person, but you're not able to take advantage of the break. Whenever you see a literary event going on, go to it. You can never tell who is going to be, someone who actually changes your life. You see a new way of writing that you didn't know about, or you hear about a program that person is involved with, or they mention on an author you'd never thought of before or never heard of, and you get interested in them. It supplements the experiences that you're getting in the classroom. And really, when you are a student and you are more or less free to go wherever you want to go with your writing, and also in a program, like a PhD in creative writing or whatever kind of program is out there that influences you or that you're interested in. It's good to be aware of all of the possibilities, and a lot of those are provided by the faculty here, but then we're bringing in people because we know that having other people here will proliferate those possibilities for people.